Today on Ian versus Daddybones, you know what? This episode's going to the fucking birds.
Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today!
Yay! Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
Epic roast.
Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian versus Daddybones. I am Ian Daddybones. Welcome to the show. I want to say what's up to everybody who's watching on Facebook and YouTube right now. Give a special high five and a nut tap to all my Patreon subscribers, throwing me $1 to $5 a month for 30 days of bonus content, getting your name in the credits, and if you upgrade to level 2, you get the Original Geeks podcast. What up to all the Patreon subscribers? To everybody else, just smash that fucking share button. I hope you enjoy the show. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about 2 vintage characters from Masters of the Universe who are officially in the Origins line, and it's none other than the 2 legendary birds, Screech and Zoar. But before I get to Screech and Zoar, we're going to bounce back real quick and reflect on last week's episode where I talked about officially paying off my Eternia crowdfund loan. So we officially paid off Eternia, and I also mentioned during the episode that Mattel made an announcement that there's going to be an announcement made regarding the new crowdfund that is being dubbed Eternia's Choice. So last week when I filmed and recorded the show, Mattel did not make their official announcement revealing the Eternia's Choice for the next crowdfund. They just made the first announcement saying that on Tuesday we're going to make the announcement. So I was speculating on the last episode as to what the new crowdfund could possibly be, and I suggested and hoped that it would be the Evil's Horde Fright Zone and the Slime Pit, maybe with a Modulok figure, you know what I mean, to justify having another crowdfund. And what we got since last week and right now, Mattel has made their official announcement, and the announcement is Eternia's Choice is exactly that. It's a choice. They presented us with 5 items that we got 2 votes for, right? They showed 5 different items that the new crowdfund could be and said you get to vote on 2 of them, what you would like to see made in the next crowdfund. And they said like the voting's gonna go live on I believe on Friday, and it was gonna go through Sunday, and then they were gonna tally up the votes. So the 5 choices that they officially presented to us, Masters of the Universe fans, collectors, toy enthusiasts, whatever you want to call us, whatever level of collector you feel you are, this pertains to you. But they basically said, out of the 5 choices, we get to pick from the Evil Horde Fright Zone. So I can say I called one of the choices. The second choice, I believe it's unnamed, but it's being referred to as the Snake Lair. Basically, when Masters of the Universe Origins, in the past year, since introducing the rise of the Snake Men, like with King Hiss, Tongue Lasher, Ratlore, Camocon, they've introduced additional Snake Men that have dropped and are coming out in the future. Like, for example, Fangor, an original Snake Man character created by artist Axel Jimenez. He created this Fangor character. Fangor got a figure in the Classics line. Fangor got a Origins version that was a Mattel Creations drop last month that I not only ordered and purchased, but it's already arrived in here, awaiting to be opened on Ian versus Daddybones. So there's new Snake Men coming, But in the new packaging art relating to the Snake Men, especially with like CamoCon, where he's got like a tri-fold, his card art opens up like a wallet. So it's got the comic story explaining how CamoCon came to be. But they've shown images of this snake layer that, based on the designs and the shape, it's on scale with like Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain. So it's not like a gigantic piece like Eternia or whatnot. But the second choice was the snake layer that they've been teasing. The third choice is being called Doom Tower. And basically Doom Tower is what they called the Fright Zone in the She-Ra cartoon and the Secret of the Sword movie. It was basically Hordak's headquarters that looked like a giant, like, spark plug shaped tower that had like insect-like appendage, crag shaped, arms coming off it and whatnot. So it looked like a spark plug fucked a spider, and that's what Hordak's base looked like. But they're calling it Doom Tower, and Doom Tower is one of our choices. The fourth choice is called the Attack Tracks Transport, which is basically a giant van-shaped attack tracks with a door that folds down in the back that contained an actual vintage-sized attack tracks. But the problem with this, to me, they kind of combined two lines. You took what the attack tracks looked like in the Filmation cartoon and what the attack tracks looked like in the vintage toy line and blended the two together. Basically, the cartoon attack tracks was different colors and did not look like the normal attack tracks. And it is what it is, but it looks like they're trying to do a mishmash of a giant Filmation attack tracks that houses a regular size attack tracks. Not bad, but not number one on my list, and definitely not worthy of one of my 2 votes. And the last item that we got to choose from was being called the Horde Transport. Basically, it's like a G.I. Joe-like assault vehicle with mounted guns. The only thing was it had a giant fucking Hordak face on the front of it, all comical and whatnot. But the thing was, the Hordak face folded down and opened up, revealing a staircase, and apparently it housed Horde troopers and whatnot. So it's basically an army build, transport, whatnot. So those were the 5 choices. Over the course of the votes, they haven't made the official choice as to what won, because right now it's Monday. The voting ended last night. So tomorrow, Tuesday, I'm anticipating is when we're going to find out what the winning choice was with the crowdfund. So far, all the preliminary voting leaks that have hit the internet, that have been documented by other YouTube channels that I go to for my Masters of the Universe informations, cough cough, toy habits, is basically saying the front runner winner of this Eternia's choice is in fact going to be the Snake Lair. So I'm pretty excited for that. We'll know more when Mattel makes the official announcement, but all I can say is I've had Castle Grayskull in my house for almost 2 years this Christmas. Eternia just got paid off, and for the first time on the episode, I can officially make the announcement. Snake Mountain arrived over the weekend. I officially have Snake Mountain. As I'm sitting here in my chair filming this episode, I can look off camera, and there it is right there in the box. So I officially have all 3 major playsets when it comes to this line. So I'm happy, I'm ecstatic, and I can't wait for more information to come when it comes out to this crowdfund, because my prediction is if it's a Castle Grayskull Snake Mountain sized playset that opens and folds like a clamshell, then technically, retail-wise, it should be around the same $85, $90 price tag that Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain had. So I'm looking at it is, if you take this $85, what would be the retail price playset, add like 2 figures, maybe a vehicle, something else, definitely worthy of a $250 crowdfund, in my honest opinion. I definitely don't see the Snake Lair being a $500 crowdfund like Eternia, but then again, I don't even know if they're going to try pushing it to a $400 crowdfund. Who the fuck knows? I'm just slightly disappointed that the Fright Zone is not the projected winner of this crowdfund, because I would rather see the Horde Slime Pit and the Fright Zone, the 2 remaining vintage playsets, included in the Origins line. To complete all the playsets have been re-released for the 40th anniversary Origins line before we get something new. However, if this second crowdfund is successful, it could lead to a third crowdfund someday down the line. But just because the Snake Lair gets picked, just because the crowdfund goes live, does not guarantee it's going to be a success. I've already seen that this year with WWE, with the thumbs down on the Monday Nitro set, and I've also seen it with Jurassic Park with the thumbs down on the 30th anniversary Gates of Jurassic Park. So, fingers crossed, if it goes live, if in fact it is revealed to be the Snake Lair playset. All I know is, like I said, Fangor already dropped, was created by Axel Jimenez, and tomorrow, Tuesday, Lady Slither, another one of his creations, is going live on Mattel Creations. So I'm going to be going for Lady Slither tomorrow. But those 2 Snake figures are not the only characters that Axel has created. So there's been other Snake Men revealed on packaging art that could very well come with this Snake Lair playset, if in fact it does become a reality. So who the fuck knows? So basically, when I started Ian vs. Daddybones, Eternia crowdfund was already live, in progress, and it was only a matter of time before I was, I took a shit or got off the pot and made my decision if I was going to participate. Here we are almost a year later, just paid that fucker off. I'm totally glad that I did, and I'm so looking forward to the next crowdfund. But like I said, Snake Mountain has officially arrived. It showed up Saturday, literally about 15 minutes before my wife and I got home from work. I saw the lady show up on my porch on the ring cam, and that was pretty fucking dope. But I can officially say, now that Snake Mountain showed up, my wife will officially be happy knowing that everything that was considered a major ticket, and by major ticket I mean anything that was over the normal $20 retail price for the figures, anything that was considered a high ticket pre-order item to get caught up with Masters of the Universe Origins, all that shit has not only been paid off, but arrived, and the only thing I have left on a pre-order list is like 5 figures I'm waiting on showing up at some point between right fucking now and hopefully before Thanksgiving. So I got 5 figs left on my list, and I am done for the year. I don't mean done by like Ian versus Daddybones. I mean as far as my normal toy hunting and collecting and pre-orders and whatnot. I do have some dad-sized responsibilities I have to take care of when I'm not filming the show. So for those of you who've been following over the course of the year, during the winter, my furnace was on the fritz, and now I'm in the process of officially replacing that motherfucker. So that's the hurdle right now I'm currently dealing with and trying to get over. But this is what keeps me going weekly, so I can get rid of all stress and all moments of you know what I mean? So right now I get to hang out and unwind and by hanging out and unwinding, I get to perform for all of y'all, and I get to show you my cool stuff. Like today on the table, I officially have both birds from the vintage Masters of the Universe line that have been re-released in the current Origins line, and it's none other than Zoar and Screech, who are packaged with additional characters. So we're going to get to one of these first. But basically, before I jump into Tila and Zoar and Skeletor and Screech, basically, I've said this numerous times on Ian vs. Daddybones, depending on what figure or character I happen to be talking about on the episode. But like, I've made numerous mentions over the course of the past almost a year that I've referenced a line from the 70s that Mattel had called Big Jim. Now, Big Jim was like, not a ripoff, but it was like an inspirational cross between G.I. Joe and like James Bond and shit. So it's like that's what their line was all about. But Big Jim's body and size was comparable to G.I. Joe's, and a lot of play action features, gimmicks that were incorporated and introduced in some of the Big Jim characters, not to mention some of the actual characters and leftover parts from Big Jim carried over to Masters of the Universe. Like, for example, the Manny Faces spinning head gimmick was introduced in the character Zorak, which had a good face and a bad face, and then another character, Captain Drake, who had a purple hood, who went from a human face to a skull face. A lot of people think that the skull face and the blue hood inspired Skeletor, but there's other elements that got thrown into the pot to create Skeletor. Just you know what I mean? It wasn't just sugar and spice that created the Powerpuff Girls. There was some other shit thrown in there. Basically, like the Manny Faces gimmick debuted in Big Jim. There was a character that had like a metal fist, like Fisto in Jitsu. There was a character called Iron Jaw who was unreleased. Iron Jaw's hinged mouth Iron Jaw gimmick turned into Trap Jaw. And Big Jim had like, you know, play sets that came with a Big Jim figure and some accessories, sometimes a creature. Like there was like a safari set, like lion tamer set or something like that, where it was like Big Jim and a fucking tiger or a Black Panther, but the mold for that tiger became Battle Cat when it was reused, you know? There was a Big Jim action adventure playset where it was like Big Jim and he came with a fucking eagle, right? So it was Big Jim and an eagle that could sit on his arm and whatnot, and he could train the eagle and all this shit. And you know, it was boring back then. They didn't have fucking video games, cable, or the internet. So you know, boomers had nothing better to do than to be like, "Wow, an eagle!" But basically, with Masters of the Universe, what they wound up doing was just reusing that eagle mold from the Big Jim line, and stuck it with Masters of the Universe. You know what I mean? And that's why the bird's so fucking big. And honestly, I gotta tell you, looking back as a kid, I didn't give a fuck about Zoar or Screech. Like honestly, they were just colored birds. I didn't really care about it. You know what I mean? In the 80s, in a world of fucking Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers, you know what I mean? I don't give a shit about a fucking bird toy. I don't care how many fucking colors you paint it and how many times you re-release it. I'm gonna buy something else. Or I'm gonna ask for something else in the line. The only difference between child me and adult me, child me didn't give a fuck. He thought they were stupid. Adult me doesn't give a fuck, still thinks they're stupid, but the completionist in me says I fucking need these Because if I don't have them, then I can't be like, yeah, I got everything in the fucking shit. You know what I mean? So I didn't really care about Tila. I didn't really care about Zoar. I didn't really care about Screech as a kid, because the reality is, you got Screech, you got Zoar, but you heard more about Zoar than you did Screech. I think and I feel Screech was only introduced just to give Zoar a rival at retail. Because with Masters of the Universe, a lot of the stuff seemed to be released in twos. You know, you had Stridor, the mechanical horse, and then you had the fucking Night Stalker, the fucking evil horse. You know what I mean? And so yeah, good mechanical horse, bad mechanical horse, good. Good tiger with a fucking saddle, bad tiger with a fucking saddle. You know what I mean? You got your Battle Cat and your Panther, and that's the thing. Like it was easy for them to reuse parts and just have a good guy and a bad guy of a lot of shit. So they had the good bird, they had the bad bird, and the thing is, you didn't really hear about Screech too much. Like in the Filmation cartoons, Screech was pretty much never around, and if he was, it was to a small degree, to the fact that I really don't have any memory of actually seeing Screech in the fucking cartoons. Zoar, on the other hand, they were able to retcon into characteristics of a character, because like I said numerous times also over the course of the show, they didn't really know what they were doing when they were trying to flesh out Masters of the Universe in the beginning. They were taking a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They were making suggestions and whatnot and trying to tell a story, but I feel if instead of like two guys sitting at a table trying to come up with an ideas, if he had like five people sitting at a table trying to discuss this, you'll have other opinions and angles to look at it, and other people offering suggestions and shit, and it could have probably been something bigger. But basically, in the 80s, when they first started telling like the Masters of the Universe and trying to tell a story, and this is before they introduced a Prince Adam, when He-Man was like a savage jungle warrior who just happened to be like, hey, I'm going to go explore later, y'all. And then he's just going about enjoying his day, and then all of a sudden, help, help! And he looks over and there's some green-skinned woman that's being attacked by a fucking monster. So then he runs down and he helps her defeat the monster, or at least scare it away to where it leaves him the fuck alone. And then she's like, oh my god, you are a warrior of great strength and bravery, and because you protected me, I'm gonna take you into this cave and I'm gonna hook you up with all this shit. Look, dude, there's a fucking battle harness, there's a goddamn, there's an axe, there's a shield, there's a sky sled, you can take that. Shit, you got an animal? Fuck, I got a saddle for your animal too. There's even a mask that looks like it would fit your tiger. So like, the Green Goddess, like that was He-Man's earliest fucking origin, with just, the goddess bestowed him treasures. But then over the course of going from like mini storybooks to mini comics to having a Filmation cartoon introduced, at some point some characters were rewritten and repurposed. The Green Goddess character evolved into the Sorceress, and because of the Sorceress being a new character separate from the Green Goddess, who at the time, the Green Goddess was basically the Teela figure wearing her Cobra armor. Then when you take the Cobra armor off the Teela figure, she's no longer the goddess, she's now Teela, the barbarian woman. So they were trying to do a 2-for-1 deal as far as using your imagination and playing with the Teela figure. Do you want her to be the barbarian woman, or do you want her to be the green goddess? And that's what the big deal was with the Cobra armor back in the day, by the way. But when they started fleshing out the sorceress, especially with the Filmation cartoon, it was like, the decision was like permanently made to be like, okay, the sorceress watches over and protects Castle Grayskull, but at the same time, she's basically a prisoner of the castle. She can't leave. But there's one condition. She can leave, but the only way she can leave is if she transforms into a falcon, not an eagle. She transforms into a falcon. She can leave the castle to, like, you know, deliver messages, which I don't understand, because she could, like, telepathically communicate with He-Man. Like, He-Man, I need you at the castle, and whatnot. But then she can leave the castle, but only in her bird form. So, then you take into the consideration that they further dove into the whole relationship status of Teela is really the sorceress's daughter, but Man-at-Arms is Teela's adoptive dad, because Man-at-Arms agreed to keep the child safe and raise the child as his own at the request of the sorceress, who Man-at-Arms may or may not have been secretly banging, even though Teela really isn't Man-at-Arms' kid. I have no fucking clue. You know, they keep fucking changing it here and there for the purpose, and right now I'll just file everything under multiverse, because it's one way in this universe, it's another way in that universe. So either way, it's still confusing every time, even when I totally think I have it figured the fuck out when it comes to Masters of the Universe. Because sometimes people will be like, oh, so what's the deal with this character? And then I'll start talking about it, but then I stop, and then I start going back to, like, other things that happened that they changed years ago that may or may not be part of the canon now. So it gets confusing at times, but basically that's the gist of it. But with the 2-pack that came out last year, I've already had this for over a year now, but the Teela and Zoar 2-pack was introduced in the summer of 2022. It got a summer release. It's part of the Masters of the Universe Origins 40th anniversary. Normally, and honestly, the Skeletor and Screech doesn't even say it on the packaging, but usually up here in the corner it would say new for 23 or new for the year that it's in. But for the 40th anniversary line of figures, instead it had a holographic 40th anniversary sticker of He-Man holding his power sword, and you see the lightning and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, this figure came out last summer, and it was part of the, looking at the back of it, it's from new, it says new for 22. It's part of the line in the wave that included Whiplash, Mini Comics, Trapjaw, Snout Spout, King Randor, Leech, Digitino, and the Roton. And yeah, you got Zoar, the giant ass orange, blue, and white Go Broncos color fucking bird. And Zoar comes with her perch. Zoar comes with her battle backpack, as it's called. It snaps on Zoar, and it looks like armor, and it looks like it's got molded rockets in it, even though you never see Zoar wear the battle armor in the fucking cartoon and whatnot, because Zor's not an eagle in the cartoon. Zor's a falcon. And this Zoar comes with a new Teela figure that's a variant of the Wave 1 Teela. This Teela has a completely different head sculpt than the regular Teela. I don't want to say it's Filmation looking, but it's more Filmation mini comics looking for a Teela head sculpt than the original vintage Tila figure in the 80s. Excuse me, I had a hiccup for a moment. But she comes with her golden version of the snake staff. She comes with a sword. And she also does come with the red cobra armor. She comes with her red shield. And that's the thing. Like, you know, I mean, I was joking around when I got this in the mail because Natalia was asking me about it when it showed up. She's like, what exactly is that? And I was trying to explain to her the whole relationship between the sorceress and Tila and whatnot. And I basically said, so yeah, it's more than just a bird and Tila. It's basically a mother-daughter two-pack. And on the box of it, it's back of the packaging, it says, Tila and Zoar share a special connection, each tied in spirit to the Eternian goddess. See, even when you have it figured out, they have it. They still have it, kind of screwy. But like it says, Tila and Zoar share a special connection, each tied into the spirit of the Eternian goddess. And then with Zoar really being the sorceress, and Tila being the daughter of the sorceress, you know, it's their ancestry within the history of Grayskull. So, I mean, package-wise, for seeing it in the box, you know, it looks fucking sick the way it is. And the one thing I'm really happy about, and another reason why I don't plan on opening these guys, is because I just bought some glass cabinets. I'm actually paying them off this week, and I'm grabbing them. So shout out to pro wrestler Little Daddy C for selling me those glass cabinets. I really appreciate it because I plan on putting my babyface and my heel origin stuff in both of these glass cabinets. So I'm basically going to have Castle Grayskull in one, Snake Mountain in the other, my figures and whatnot, and it's going to be fucking sick. So I'm definitely going to have an area for stuff that's left in the box, like these, and like Moss Man's going to go in there and shit. It's going to be fucking epic. So there's the Tila and Zoar. But right here, we got Skeletor and Screech. And now Skeletor and Screech just showed up recently. And I do gotta say, I was a little bit disappointed, especially considering when I pre-ordered this. You know, I pre-ordered a Skeletor and a Screech 2-pack. And what I got in the mail was Skeletor and a fucking bird. And I'm pretty sure that bird looks nothing like Dustin Diamond. So that is not the Screech figure that I thought I was going to be getting. However, I do have the evil companion bird to the good bird, Screech. And it says, Skeletor commands the vicious Screech to bring his enemies to their knees with his piercing cry. And, yeah. He comes with the, Screech comes with the same shit as Zoar, the same fucking perch, the same battle backpack in a different colored plastic. Like, Screech is the same thing as Zoar, except Screech is in the Denver Bronco colors, and Screech is just purple, magenta, and blue. And I do like too how the packaging for these two figures, it's very as close and authentic to the vintage packaging as it could be. I mean, as far as like the shape and the design of the box, complete down to the weird looking drawing of the child who's having a wonderful time playing with the toy. And I like how they don't discriminate against gender, because the boy who may have a vagina is playing with Zoar, and the little girl who may or may not have a penis is playing with Screech. So kudos to Mattel for not discriminating against that type of shit. So it's really good to know that all kids can come together and play with their Masters of the Universe Origins toys. But back to Screech, back to Skeletor. I will say, this is part of the current wave of 13 and 14 Masters of the Universe Origins. Or actually, I think it may be more closer to wave 12 rolling into 13 than it is 13 rolling into 14. But either way, the cross-sell art on the back shows Point Dread and the Talon Fighter. Got it. Slamurai. Got it. And honestly, young 2000X King Randor, Snake Tila, Snake Trooper, right there are 3 out of the 5 figures that I have left on my pre-order list. So I'm waiting for those 3 figures to show up. But everything else on the back of the Tila and Zoar box, I already got. But, you know, I mean, honestly, I mean, it's cool because I got a variant of Tila, but I don't feel that variant of Tila is worth me opening that up for. I already have a loose Tila, you know what I mean? I don't really need another one, even though I say that as I have multiple open He-Man figures and multiple Skeletors, which for him is another reason why I'm leaving him in the package. I already have enough fucking loose open Skeletors from the Origins line. But I will say, with this Skeletor, what makes this Skeletor really fucking neat, and he is a variant. I mean, I'm calling him Blood Skeletor, and the reason I'm calling him Blood Skeletor is his armor is like a cross between magenta and purple blending into itself. So he's got the 2-color deco on the armor, and it matches that way on his hood. And he also has a differently colored power sword and a Havoc staff. But the one thing about this Skeletor figure that makes him completely different than all other Skeletors in the line is this is the first Skeletor to have an articulated jaw. So this Skeletor can open and close his mouth, kind of like Trapjaw can move his metal jaw up and down. So it's pretty fucking sweet. And I honestly think that's a nice little extra touch they made with the figure. You know, that attention to detail, making sure it's there. You know, and some people think it looks kind of goofy. I mean, I think it looks kind of goofy when he's got his mouth open, because he kind of looks like that one Scarlett Johansson meme where she's just... But once the mouth's closed or even slightly open, it looks kind of menacing and whatnot. But at least you could somewhat mess around with the friggin' emotion that your Skeletor figure's making. And overall, I mean, it looks sick. You know what I mean? Both of them together look absolutely amazing. And like always with Masters of the Universe Origins, whether you plan on opening or just displaying your stuff, whether you're keeping it mint in box, mint on card, or if you're opening it just to put it in cases, I mean, the artwork's absolutely incredible. You know, between friggin' Axel and Roy, everything's just friggin' amazing. You know what I mean? I literally like almost shed a tear like when I took that Snake Mountain out of the box and I like held that fucking box in my arms. You know what I mean? I'm just like, dude, this is epic. I haven't like held Snake Mountain since I was 8 years old. It was such a freaking going back to my childhood moment. You know what I mean? It's like that moment. It's like that moment on It when like Bill got on a bike again. You know what I mean? It was like so nostalgic and in the feels. It's like he never stopped, and that's the shit. You know, it's like the love and excitement I would see. The love and excitement I would feel when I saw this shit as a kid is the same love and excitement that I feel as an adult, and it's such a wonderful time to have this stuff come out right now, because it's not just like nostalgic for me, but it's like something for my kids to get introduced to, something for me to share with my children. And I don't know about everybody else in the house, but I'm having a fucking blast with it. So I know I've been driving everybody nuts with it too, because it's half the time. It's all I really talk about anymore. Either I'm fantasizing about stuff that hasn't come out yet, that hopefully is going to get announced next, but sometimes that stuff doesn't get announced until the following year. And at this point, with everything that's came out, Mattel's really doing its job. You know, Mattel's doing a hell of a job trying to get everything from the vintage line out there again in the stores. And with everything that they put out so far, I mean, when I started this show, I was getting ready for waves 9 and 10 to show up. Now we're in the era of waves 13 and 14, and the reality is, unfortunately, where we're at right now in the line, to a degree, is going to be the end of the retail renaissance of Masters of the Universe Origins. Because for what they have left remaining from the vintage line that needs to come out, and by needs, I'm talking figures, essential like play sets, essential vehicles, but not everything is going to get released in fucking Origins. You know what I mean? I don't see the Dragon Walker coming out anytime soon. You know, unfortunately, I don't see that giant fucking spinning monstroid or whatever the fuck it was that Hordak rode in getting released anytime soon. You know, they put out a Sky Sled within the first year, or no, that was new for 2021 when they put out Prince Adam with the Sky Sled. They still don't have a battle ram for the Sky Sled to fit into. Like, that's such a tease in itself. You know what I mean? That literally is just the fucking tip, is the Sky Sled. You know, they haven't even put out the full battle ram so you can take your Sky Sled and just shove it in there, you know? You can't complete the package if you only have the Sky Sled and not the remaining battle ram. And that's what I feel one of the crowdfund suggestions should have been. I feel it should have been the Fright Zone and the Slime Pit together. Honestly, I feel that Horde Transport can go fuck itself. Nobody fucking cares. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, that Horde Transport vehicle ain't shit but the Butters meme of Butters sitting on his ass crying going, nobody likes me. That's how I feel about the fucking Horde Transport even being on the list. The Attack Tracks kind of share the same feelings, even though I wouldn't be funding it for the giant transport. I would be funding it just to make sure we got an Attack Tracks. But working our way up the list, I mean, I could see Doom Tower getting a release, but maybe next year, the year after that, after the cartoon collection comes out. Once Mattel starts getting their feet wet with the Filmation version of all the figures, wait till you put out the Filmation version of Hordak, Leech, Grizzlor, Mantenna, Shadow Weaver, then focus on a Doom Tower crowdfund. Because at least that would make sense, because Doom Tower is what the Fright Zone looked like in the goddamn cartoon. And in the concept art alone, it had like Hordak's throne room on top, and at the bottom, because this thing was built like the central tower of Eternia, like it's fucking tall. So like up top you got Hordak's throne room, and then on the bottom they had like that containment area where they were draining He-Man's energy and whatnot. Like that room, workshop, was at the bottom of that Doom Tower playset. So who the hell knows what's going to happen in the future, but the Fright Zone suggestion was great, but incomplete because it didn't include the Slime Pit. But I can't put so much pressure on them not including the Slime Pit, because the crowdfund, no matter what wins, no matter what gets picked, there's going to be additional perks to unlock. For all we know, we could have started with the Fright Zone, and if we hit 10,000, we unlock the Slime Pit. Who the hell knows? We never will, as of right now, because the Fright Zone's not going to take it. It looks like it's mostly going to be the Snake Lair, but we'll find out on the next episode of Ian Daddy Bones. So thank you for hanging out with me today, and until next time, cheers, Pete!
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back.
You can't hide and you can't pretend, cause I'll punch you out like Wendy and Glenn. Some things you learn in the school you attend, but the things that I say you can't comprehend.
I sit down and smoke a fat bong, pull out my guitar and sing a fast song. There's your motherfucking American Idol, putting $2 a gallon down the gas hole. 10 million votes for the next asshole. I'll just put on my engineer's hat, sit back and relax while we speed down the tracks. I'll read the book just to spit out the facts.
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back.
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, get stuck cause you never go. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go
I'll sneak
back.
up your driveway all calm and collective, tripping balls like an underground detective. Need some new shit but my funds are running low. I spend it on weed, true fear and blow. Living life like a cartoon, just flipping the page as I'm staring down the barrel of a 12 gauge. Shotty to the body and it's got me open, shaking so bad I think my legs are broken. I'm choking on the smoke and coughing up the shot, waking up from a dream. These drugs are high. Chasing strychnine with kind and beer with whiskey. Sing a lullaby and I'm sorry you missed me.